सान्द्रानन्दावबोधात्मकमनुपमितं कालदेशावदिभ्या निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भास्यमानम् अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनः उरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावत् भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे हन्त भाग्यं जनानाम् अग्रे पश्यामि तेजो निबिडतरकला यावली लोभनीयं पीयूषाप्लावितोऽहं तदुतरे दिव्यकैशोरवेशं तारुण्यारम्भरम्यं परमसुखरसास्वाद रोमाञ्चिताङ्गैः आवीतं नारदाद्यैः विलसदुपनिषत् सुन्दरी मण्डलैश्च
Gurupavanapure Hantabhagyam Janana. Namaskaram to all the Astikas. We have had the fortune of discussing, rather knowing, the nuances of Bhagavan's Srishti. But we need to understand in Sanatana Dharma, Srishti, Sthiti, Samharam is not linear. It is cyclic. Like our births, the Jivatma is eternal. But the eternal Jivatma goes one body after the other. Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. Bhagavad Pada says, Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani, Jathare Shayanam, Iha Samsare, Bahudustare, Kripaya Pare, Pahi Murare. It is a cyclic process. Srishti, Sthiti, Samharam, Srishti. That is why who does this? Paravasudeva in the next level as Vyuha Vasudeva branches himself out into Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. So Sankarshana does the entire Samharam. Then from Sankarshana takes over Pradyumna, who does the Srishti. Aniruddha does what is known as Sthiti. He is able to sustain. Sustenance is his duty. So that is why Purusha Suktam, all our Agamas point to this. Now getting back to where we were. After Virat Swarupa Darshanam came Hiranyagarbha Srishti. Then came the greatness of Shuddha Sattva Divyamangala Vigraham of Bhagavan. Vis-a-vis, alongside, we also saw the greatness that is attached to the Dhamam, the Vaikuntha Dhamam of Bhagavan. Then we also saw how the existence, when it goes to Pralayam, Naimitika Pralayam, Nitya Pralayam, Prakritika Pralayam, Maha Pralayam, how everything gets together into Bhagavan's abdomen, like how Brahma gets to go seeking substratum, Adharatvam in Bhagavan. Then Bhagavan commands the time, which is a concept, Kala Tattvam, saying that wake me up when the deluge is over. And that Kala Tattvam, which is subservient to Bhagavan, wakes him up. So all this while he was in the yogic slumber. It is not sleeping alone. It is yoga. It is a form of yoga. So now that he has been immersed in yoga, from his Nabhi comes a Padmam. And in that Padmam is seated Brahma. So we also dealt with the word Parardham and Kalpam. And in Kalpam we dealt with the first of the Kalpams called Brahma Kalpam. And the last of them all in the first Parardham, which is called Padma Kalpam. So Bhattatri takes us through this journey in the last shloka of this Dashakam number 8. 13th shloka, Dashakam number 8. Asmin Paratman Nanu Padma Kalpe Tvamitham Uthapita Padma Yonihi Ananta Bhuma Mama Roga Rashim Nirundhi Vatalaya Vasa Vishnu. He says, hey Vishnu, He Paramatman, He Bhagavan, Vatalaya Vasa, the one who stays in the abode of Sri Guruvayur, Vishnu, the one who is Vishnu, Tvam Ananta Bhuma, your Bhuma, your glory, your magnanimity is infinite. Tvam Ananta Bhuma, Asmin Padmakalpe, in this Padmakalpam, so he says in this Padmakalpam, Utthapita Padmayonihi Itham. So you awakened the Brahma who was born in the lotus. Why should he again say lotus? See, there is a Mahabharata Vachanam here. Tvatto me manasam janma prathamam dvija pujitam chakshusham vaidvitiyam me janma chasit puratanam tvat prasadattu me janma tritiyam vachikam mahad त्वत्तः श्रवणजं चापि चतुर्थं जन्म मे प्रभो नासत्यं चापि मे जन्म त्वत्तः पञ्चमुच्यते अंडजं चापि मे जन्म त्वत्तः षष्ठं विनिर्मितम् इदं च सप्तमं जन्म पद्मजन्मेति वै प्रभो. So Brahma tells Bhagavan, at different points in time I was born from your Vapuhu in different forms. So he says, Tvatto me manasam janma. Firstly I was born from your manas. Then he says, Prathamam dvija pujitam. Next, chakshusham vai dvitiyam me. Next I was born through the eyes. Janma chasit puratanam. Tvat prasadattu me janma tritiyam vachikam mahad. You said Brahma and I was born. Vachikam mahad, just a word was enough. Tvattaha shravanajam chapi chaturtham janma me prabhu. From your ears I was born. Nasatyam chapi me janma tvattaha panchama uchyate. So in the fifth I was born from the nose. Next, andajam chapi me janma tvattaha shashtham vinirmitam. Then I was born from the egg, which is the andam. Then he says, idam cha saptamam janma padmajanmeti vai prabho. In the seventh I am being born from the lotus. So there is a Mahabharata Vachanam that supports it. That is why Bhattatri says, asmin padmakalpe utthapita padmayonihi ittham. So this kalpa itself is called Padmakalpa. In this Padmakalpa, Brahma, who is the lotus born, was born from the lotus held by Parabrahman, Paramatma from his navi. Utthapita Padmayonihi Nanu Nirundi Mama Rogarashim. Please eradicate my ailments thereby. So we have understood this shloka. There is an aitihyam which is attached to this shloka, which is known to all the astikas bereft of languages across the world. What is that? In the last 100-120 years, if there is one Acharya who was extremely famous for the efforts that he took to revive the Vedic tradition in India, retrieve many shakhas that were once lost, thereby aiding many scholars, and through his sheer knowledge and taposhakti was able to influence the life of his devotees in a very positive and a blissful manner, is the Paramacharya of Kanchi, called as Chandrasekharendra Saraswati. So Swami, it is said amongst the various speeches and conversations that he had with his followers and devotees, one such devotee is said to have approached Paramacharya and expressed the anguish of having been suffering from cancer. That is when Acharya told, why don't you recite the 13th shloka of the 8th dashakam of Narayaneeyam? Please remember, Narayaneeyam though brings the essence of Bhagavata Purana in a nutshell, it does talk about the problems caused by one's ailments, because Bhattatri himself was suffering from the ailment called as Vataroga. He took up from his Acharya and he was suffering from this Vataroga. He requested Bhagavan to remove this Vatarogam in every dashakam. So Paramacharya could have advised any shloka to get rid of this. But why to that cancer patient did he say 13th shloka of the 8th dashakam? I was just thinking about it. See, lotus, of course, in Bharata Desham, it is the national flower. Lotus is used for archana to Bhagavan. And lotus is also the seat of Mahalakshmi. So if you see, Mahalakshmi is seated on a lotus. Brahma is seated on a lotus. Saraswati is seated on a lotus. Saraswati is generally believed to be sitting on a white lotus called Pundalikam. whereas Brahma or Mahalakshmi are seated on the pinkish reddish lotus. Now, when you look at Bhagavan's eyes, Shurpanakha goes and complains to Karadushana that she has been humiliated. Even then, she doesn't forget the lotus eyes of Bhagavan. She says, Tarunau Rupa Sampannau, Sukumarau Mahabalau, Pundarika Vishalakshau, Chira Krishna Jinambarau. She compares the eyes of Bhagavan to the petals of a newly blossomed lotus. When Dasharatha refuses to send his son with Vishwamitra, he says, Unashodasha Varsho, Me Ramaha, Rajiva Lochanaha, Nayuddha Yogyatamyasya Pashyami Saharakshasaihi. My son will not be able to fight the Rakshasas that you mean to take him to, because his eyes are like the lotus that blossom when the sun rises and closes in the sunset, whereas the ones who are going to fight with him will fight only during the night. So Dasharatha makes reference to the word lotus while describing Rama's eyes. So does Shurpanakha while describing Rama's eyes to the lotus. In Krishna Avataram, Duryodhana says, Bhishma Drona Vratikamya Mamschaiva Madhusudana Kimartham Pundarikaksha. Even while admonishing Krishna, he says the lotus-eyed one. So being as Rama or Krishna or as Narayana, Gambhiramba Samudbhuta Sumrishtanala Ravikara Vikasita Pundarikadala Amala Ayate Kshanaha. When compositions are written, they say Rajivaksha, Pankajalochana, and so on and so forth. So the Lord's eyes are compared to the lotus. The seats of Saraswati, Lakshmi and Brahma is the lotus. The national flower of Bharatam is lotus. And above all, the mystic poetess Andal says, Karpuram Narumo, Kamalappu Narumo. The smell of the lotus is also very intoxicating. So the smell of the lotus is regarded. If you go to the country called Brahmadesham, which is current day called Myanmar, you will see silk made from the lotus threads. So lotus is used for that. Then you also see the lotus leaves, which are used as disposables. So lotus serves a lot of purpose alongside the tubers which are consumed by many Bharatiyas. So lotus serves so many purposes. Now what does this lotus signify? Lotus signifies the symbol of hope drawn or born of marshes. Unlike other flowers which are born and blossom in neat surroundings, lotuses are born in marshes. Marsh is a place where there is impurity. So we generally say it's very marshy, means very dirty, where there is lot of sludge. So you generally say it's not very serene, pristine. So from that place which are the marshes, which are so very clayey, comes the lotus as a sign of hope. Similarly, in our body functions, I'm sure there will be extremely well-read medical practitioners who are listening. In our body, we have cell, and the cell has a nucleus. This nucleus acts something like knowledge, jnana pradata. If the cell which is born has a lot of defects, it tells the cell, now do an apoptosis. Apoptosis is programmed cell death. It tells, oh cell, you are born with damages, you will serve no purpose to this human being, die. Die yourself. It is called programmed cell death, apoptosis. So a cell is supposed to do that. It keeps doing that in our body because in our body millions of cells are born, millions of cells are dead in a day, in a minute, in an hour. So this cell should do it. If cells which are damaged cells, affected cells do not kill themselves, such cells, damaged cells form a tumor and the doctor will diagnose whether this is a malignant one or a benign one, and then they will provide treatment that way. So to a cancer patient where there are damaged cells which have formed a tumor and thereby the cancer patient suffers, that patient waits for a ray of hope. So this Dashakam dealt with lotus all throughout. In the marshes is born lotus as a sign of hope. So this particular shloka, Paramacharya must have thought, like how it gives rise to Brahma at the end of Pralayam, because Pralayam is over, now the cause, Srishti has to begin. When nothing is there, light has to emerge. That is why when the lotus emerged, we said, Dhvantam, darkness went away. Darkness has to go away, light has to come, life has to be hopeful. You should hope for something good. That hope comes in the form of lotus, and seated on that lotus is Brahma, where he does good Srishti. Thereby, if you keep reciting this, alongside taking advice from your oncologist, from your doctor, even cancer patients, with the help of Bhagavan's grace, will be able to overcome. See, faith can move mountains, they say. So, faith on Narayana will surely bring grace to all those patients who are undergoing a lot of pain through cancer, through chemotherapy, through treatment, so on and so forth. Paramacharya must have thought about this. Sanatana Dharma never says we are against medicine. Take advice from your doctor. Please do follow that strict regime, whatever your doctor says. Please undergo that treatment alongside. Bhagavan's grace is extremely important. And this shlokam, the 13th shloka of the 8th dashakam of Narayaneeyam, will help overcome the problems. Asmin paratman nanu padma kalpe tvamittha muthapita padmayonihi ananta bhuma mama roga rashim nirundhi vatalaya vasa vishno. May Guruvayurappan bestow good health on all the astikas.
कल्याणरूपाय कलौ जनानां कल्याणदात्रे करुणासुधाब्दे कंवादिदिव्यायुधसत्कराय वातालयाधीश नमो नमस्ते. नारायण 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 नारायण